Hi, welcome to Connects Live. This is our 22nd edition of the program, and we're here to learn from each other, connect with each other. We're here every Wednesday. Today, I'd like to welcome our special guest host, Stephanie Leese Emrich from ServiceSpeaks Solutions in Chicago, and our featured guest here is Rich Dorfman, the CX Vice President of CX at Eastman Bank up in Boston. So what I'm going to do is they're going to have a chat. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat area. We'll bring you on camera. Take it away, Stephanie and Rich.
This is so incredible. I would never have wished the last year on anybody, but beside Mark changing his fireside chat to a Southern Y'all Atlanta barbecue, I am really excited about just the way you've embraced all of us and just continue to attract the goodness and the learning. So it's rare that we get to say thank you. So I'm just doing my own wave here up in Chicago to Mark Michelson for bringing us together. And so it was Mark's idea to put Rich Dorfman with me. And I thought, oh my gosh, banking. If you know me for 1 minute, and we all like to think we're smart, but my right brain is a lot more top heavy. And I lean toward the humanities and personal skills. So I thought, I am interviewing someone in banking. But when you see the intelligence and the relaxed nature of Rich Dorfman and what he's able to share with us, it's beyond the bank. It's really about how he's crystallized the customer experience inside the walls of a 200-year-old institution. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I think that Rich Dorfman and his amazing biography have allowed us to do that. When Rich was in high school and college, he was on the rings for gymnastics. And I always, on an HR level, like to think, what did people do in their youth that brought them to this moment? And anybody who would win a national championship team for rings on gymnastics has got to be the most agile, the most flexible, and the most confident person that you could know. Because I don't know how you are, Rich, on the gymnastics floor now, but I just want to applaud that. Since introducing the customer experience role at Eastern Bank in 2008, and I'd like to think the time is going fast now. 13 years ago, Rich has managed and evolved that program to make it highly inclusive and as a strategic initiative. It wasn't just a response, it was well thought out. And you'll hear deeply from Rich. He deemed it a corporate imperative that it had to take on a competitive advantage and to be thought up from the upside, all sides from the organizational standpoint. His role encompasses the breadth and depth of the CX or customer experience discipline, the program design and its delivery, and the voice of the customer, the VOC measurement that we all know is significant, and the financial linkage finally, because we know kings talk to kings, queens talk to queens. Financial people talk to each other with that speak and that vocabulary. And just a little bit more about Rich, because I could go on well past our time, but to bring it around, he tirelessly engages frontline colleagues, because in the bank field, well, at least that's who I talk to. I don't always get the vice president on the phone, but business line leaders and executive management to leverage that voice in a different way that drives both better customer and employee experiences. So marrying the two is one of Rich's specialties, and the company's brand promise, and I love this. We do good things. This is Eastern Bank. We do good things to help people prosper. Along these moments of truth for Rich's amazing life, he's been asked to be involved with the soon to be launched that we heard about last week from Professor Dr. DeWitt, the first ever graduate degree program in customer experience at Michigan State University. And I'm a Big Ten gal, and I know Rich is as well. So it's really lovely to see that full on. a little bit behind Rich's banking career, just in case you're interested in the backstory, comes from stints at Chemical Chase in New York, Shamit Fleet in Boston, and now really beyond the banking walls. Rich would encourage me to remind everyone that it's really his consulting platform that allows him a more varietal thinking and viewpoints that are quite masterful. So welcome, Rich Dorfman. Did I leave out anything? The name of your favorite pet turtle, camp that you went to? Is there anything I can bring forward for you?
No, I think we should just end the program right here because I don't think I can top that introduction. Thank you very much.
Well, maybe you and I will be on the Golden Globe stage sometime and we'll have a different way. But so for now, this magic gift of insight, when Mark came forward with the title harness, well, that's just coming off of the Kentucky Derby here, it's like harness, that's like as a word person, that's a very big deal to say harnessing insights and to go beyond, because we have a lot of faith in the survey system. And there's professionals on this room that is their daily walk, but taking it because one answer is not enough. So Rich, give us the global perspective of how you're managing the program now. And then I understand we'll go into a case study and a few other quite piercing questions I've brewed up for today.
Well, I'm really glad you brought up the word insight because we oftentimes forget that data, which we all drown in, especially in banks where you have more of it than you know what to do with it half the time. It's really not that useful unless you can extract the insights that are actionable, that move the dial forward to have the win-win opportunity to enhance the customer experience and thus their loyalty, which then ties the knot to the business's bottom line objectives. That's the whole game right there. Easier said than done, but that's what you want to try to do. Insight that will make a difference. So it's working very closely and being aligned with your business line executives. And those are really calling the shots in terms of the products, the channels, the messaging, because you really need to know what is driving the business forward, evidenced by the quality of the experience that our colleagues as well as our customers are having. And that's where my job started about a dozen years ago. There was no voice of anything in terms of data. We had tons of operational data, the what, the how many, the how long, but we didn't have the contextual why. And that's where I opened up a whole new data set. And now I'm integrating the drivers of behavior from customers' perceptions, along with that operational data, married together well, and the right questions asked will beget the bottom line results that one is looking for. So that's the global perspective that I take.
Thank you, Rich. Subjective, the sometimes existential responses that we get in surveys are sometimes really important, because marketing department, they're always looking with their eagle eye on what haven't they told us, the hidden agenda, that an objective or tangible response in a survey. How do you then, if you're not taking a survey path, tell us how you commandeer the responses that your loyalty obviously gives to you?
Well, again, this topic is harnessing insights and going beyond surveys. So I will be remiss if I didn't talk about surveys as one tool, but that is certainly not the only one that you pull out. To get to your question, to get the contextual meaning behind the questions you're asked. Yes, you want to have metrics because it's like a dashboard on your car. You want to know how much gas you have, how fast you're going, and so forth to keep you aligned. But if you don't know where you're going or why you're trying to get there, you're going to lose sight of your objective. So that's why we need to get the open-ended voice of contextual. Tell us what you think and feel. And that's a skill set and also a technology combined that enables the inquiring minds to know, including your executives, why did the numbers move the way they did? because that's where action happens. I'll bring that up in a case study in a moment, but until you know kind of not just the what, but the why, that's where you have to marry those two together. And what I do to start any project, Stephanie, is this. I want to make sure that we're aligned on what we're trying to solve for. What are the big things that are keeping you awake at night as a business line leader? And I start with my one-page simple input form, which I call the IWIC, I wish I knew. It's a very powerful concept, very, very simple. But if you were an executive or a business line leader, and you said, okay, I want to move our business this way to achieve this, and I had my customers in a room, what would I want to know from them to help move the dial forward? And when we get aligned on those IWICs, then as the consultant, the internal CX practitioner, I then design the right insight tools, whether it's the survey or a focus group or some combination of tools that I pull out of the toolkit to address that specific question. And then you, done right, you get the right context to elicit the answers that will drive the right actions.
Rich, I'm learning from your vocabulary. My head is expanding and just joyful over all of this. You were talking, we were talking last week about the amazing amount of connections that you've made inside the bank and reaching your customers and also in your consulting practice. Can you shed some light? Because we have consultants in the room and direct practitioners. Is there a seesaw before we allow everybody to learn about your case study? Are you a different researcher and learner alongside your customers when you're in the bank and when you're also on the consulting side?
Well, I've been both because my current employer was a client of mine well before they were my employer. But interestingly, I've taken the same approach, whether I'm a 1099 employee or a 1099 contractor or a W-2 employee. I view myself as a consultant because to me, that elevates the conversation around you're a helper. You know, I don't want to presume to know anything, even though I am, quote, an insider. My job is to learn what's going on. I want to sit in the staff meetings, literally, and understand the nuances that are going on. I have the privilege, like this morning, I'm sitting in the president's employee roundtable with employees. All the business lines that report up to him. He allows me to be that fly on the wall to take notes and to help elevate the employee experience because that's every bit as important and integrated with the customer experience. And that's why I'm part of that. So I view myself as a consultative helper in this regard. This way, my colleagues, my partners are aligned on what we're trying to achieve together. And that builds the most important thing there is in our business, which is trust.
You have just eliminated my doubt about that and illuminated it to highest degree. I've got Stephen Covey right here. It's the speed of trust. I mean, if that's not, I remember going to an ATM for the first time and watching that little plastic thing come out of my wallet, go into a giant machine. Banking, and everybody has their thoughts about it, but from the inside out, what I'm hearing you say is the value of trust. Now, you were really way ahead of your time when you were creating this mobile case study. And talk about trust. I don't know about anyone in the room, but getting you to know all my numbers that are on, I'm holding up my phone here. My numbers are a value to me and hopefully to know anybody else other than the bank. You had a giant success story with the numbers that doubled using that mobile app and the case study. You were describing a static feedback loop going to the website. Can you walk us through just 3 to 5 moments of truth that made the mobile app, the case study, the project success that it became?
For sure, and some context is important for this case study. I'll do it quickly, and feel free to reach out to me directly, anyone afterwards. even before COVID, there was a gigantic movement to digitalization for a lot of our customers, and ours at the bank tend to skew older. So even so, older of our customers, and especially the newer millennial customers, have come in with the expectation that we have good digital properties. But pre-COVID, we had a modest degree of success with our newly released mobile banking application. It was good. It wasn't great. What feedback we were getting was anecdotal. And the migration of people moving to this was large. So we needed to stay attuned to what our users were thinking. Mm-hmm. To your point, Stephanie, we launched a pretty simple static link feedback, provide feedback here on your little hamburger menu. Well, guess what? The input that we got from that was largely negative. From an overall satisfaction score, it was hovering in the 5s, not really great on a 10-point scale. And the reason was, we figured, was most people who gave a piece of feedback were hunting for that little, where can I give the feedback? Because they were not happy, right? People don't hunt for a feedback loop when they are happy. When they're unhappy, sure, find it, right? And we were getting maybe 100, maybe 200 pieces of feedback a month. It gave us, I think, we sensed a false impression because our app store ratings were actually much higher. So we changed up how we were getting the feedback. And this is meeting your customers where they are, so it makes it easier for them to give feedback. So we use the survey, but a very different kind called a digital intercept survey. So imagine you're on your phone and you're transferring monies between accounts using your mobile app. We then invite to take a 2-question survey when you're completing that transaction. Tell us how it was, fast and easy, to had a hard time. And then the open-ended question, tell us some more about that experience. 2 questions. 30% of the people who were presented that took it. 30% response rate, right? Yeah. Not 1, not 2, 30. And instead of getting 100 or 200 responses in a month, we got 25,000 surveys done in 3 months. So the volume of the feedback came in and the quality of it. And guess what? Our overall satisfaction score, or let's put it this way, those who said it was fast and easy was 2/3 of our population. So incredible. Because it was carefully brought into their experience while they were in the moment, where they were, we learned that this was a much better product than what we originally thought. And with that open-ended feedback that we were able to text and sentiment analysis and analyze, we understood where there was issues. It helped us focus on that, whether it was the log on or, some people were challenged with the, taking the pictures for their mobile check deposit. So it gave our team a spotlight to shine on the problem areas. So then we can then do other research like user testing with folks around those problem areas. So it layered the research and insight so that we can actually drive change that is going to make a difference.
Rich, you are omniscient, because we're right into the Q&A right now, and you're already answering some of the questions that are in my head and a few others. So wow, just a round of applause for everything that you've just enlightened. And I can't wait to watch this again, because I'm even still learning. Even the recorded version will help illuminate some of this. So there are some exceptional comments and quotes, everyone in the commentary on the chat. Deanna Schaas, who's quite an enlightened individual out of Chicago with her Intercultural Spark weekly show and Intercultural Talk, works in a variety of industries and is saying remote deposits are an amazing invention. And I think we can all groove on that. Similarly, we have a question from Cecilia Mowat, whose worlds revolve around real estate, law, and international communities, and in far away and close places. Cecilia asks, how is the bank managing customer service in these times of change? I'll put a semicolon. For example, with the gig economy, when credit and financial standards are so rule-based, and how do you know when you have the right metrics? That's an exceptional question. Thank you, Cecilia. Now to Rich.
COVID and the challenges of remote for businesses, for consumers, for employees has been a major challenge. But the opportunities for us to learn to navigate through this, all of us together, have really revealed some silver linings. First of all, in terms of managing our customers through these challenging times, the gig economy, these workers who've been laid off temporarily, the bank is doing an exceptional job of trying to help them survive, avoid them having to pay late fees, for example, or if it's a business, we're one of the banks that leads the country in PPP loans, personal paycheck protection loans. The amount of hours that our staff have been putting in to help customers navigate through the challenging times is just incalculable. And we measure this. We've kept our VOC programs going throughout all of this. And yes, some of the scores have dipped, but we understand why they did. But our customers have given us tremendously positive experiences and ratings for the helpfulness. So yeah, we don't want to ever turn off our listening posts. We really need to understand where they're coming from through good times and bad.
Rich, that's an excellent point. And Scott Gilby's reminding us that on the easy and quick could mean, don't make me search, don't make me think. Some people just want us to do the heavy lifting, and bridging that with Susan Walker, who brings up just a very clear point here. What about the ones that don't participate? How do we get that customer base, that percentage of the unknown? How do you get input from them? It could be good or bad. It doesn't mean that the non-responders don't care. They're just not in a position, or the technology is not in their favor. How do you handle that aspect?
Well, you have to be very conscientious about bias, right? You're right. The folks who don't answer are just as important, have just as valued a piece of feedback than those who do. And people are giving feedback in all different kinds of ways, whether they call the call center, lodge a complaint, log onto social media, walk into a branch, send an email. Typically these come through different channels and different insight or information stakeholders. This is the hard part of CX, connecting the dots of all these different places that people connect, because sure, there are different people within a bank or any organization that manage their own ecosystem, but a customer never looks at a brand that way. They just look at it as Eastern Bank, and they should know me. So it's our job to make sure that we're reaching out to where our customers are ready to meet us, not the other way around. And that's the challenge.
Rich, I think you'll be encouraged by the very active commentary. Not only do we have a high population today, your topic and your words are very important. People really want to show up for you. And there are quite a number of questions, but I think I need at this moment, I do want to ask you what kind of vitamins you take, because that's my standard question, but you can reveal that at another time. And Mark, I think you're going to ask us to go into our breakouts. Is that correct?
Yes, gosh, there's so many great questions coming up from the audience here. And normally we'd bring everyone on camera, but unfortunately we're just about out of time. I would like to encourage everyone to stay for the networking session, which we do immediately following this recorded program. And if you're watching this recording, join us every Wednesday to meet new people. There's so many new people here today. I'm anxious to get out there and meet them and talk with them, who's all in this group. So thank you so much, Rich, and thank you, Stephanie, for your insights on going beyond customer surveys to get insights. As a researcher myself, I appreciate all of these inputs from so many different angles, especially in a digital world, and reaching everyone, giving them at least the opportunity to let us know, like Susan says, how do we know how to reach people who don't respond? And is that a response itself? let's take on that conversation in the networking. What we're going to do is close out the recording part now, and we'll jump right into it. So take us on out, Steph. Audrey, take us out.